I want to acknowledge the trauma and suffering that many people have gone through.
SES volunteers were called to reports of a young family stranded in a house in floodwater in Warrington,
Having to leave their homes in driving rain.
We've requested the use of a helicopter to come and winch the family to safety.
This mum and her two small kids among tens of thousands of Sydneysiders forced to flee as the floodwaters rose. 500,000 people across the state under orders or warnings to evacuate.
Oh, you're such a good boy.
Many people are waking up today to see much of our state underwater.
Among the widespread areas in the firing line, low-lying riverside communities in Sydney's southwest
Everyone's on edge. It looks like it's going to hit the homes sometime today.
and Sydney's northwest, with major flooding in North Richmond and Windsor as the Hawkesbury River swelled.
We do expect, particularly in the Hawkesbury region, that the floods will be worse than they were last year.
Some residents evacuating for the second time in 12 months.
We've really only just come back now and fixed a lot of it, so yeah, it's really tough.
Another round of flooding too much for Mel, who says after this, she can't live in Windsor anymore.
It's just really heartbreaking. We didn't think we'd have to do this again, so.
Our very own Hamish McDonald is at the inundated Windsor Bridge in Sydney's northwestern outskirts, and he joins us now. Hamish, can you take us through how the situation evolved in Sydney today?
Yeah, good evening, guys. It's been another big day of flooding in New South Wales, but perhaps not as bad as what was expected in Sydney. The Bureau says that we missed the worst of it. A forecast was something like 200 mils of rain, ended up being only 10 mils of rain in some places. That's not to say it isn't bad in parts of the city, though. This is Windsor. This is the new bridge that was not meant to flood and has actually flooded twice in the last couple of years. And in fact, the water here hasn't peaked yet. The authorities saying that they're expecting that later tonight. So this area, Windsor, as well as Richmond, North Richmond, just down from us, they're both being told to remain on standby for tonight. Evacuation orders still in place for some of the locations within those suburbs, and hopefully the water will start to recede overnight into tomorrow morning.
So you say that bridge has flooded twice in a couple of years. I guess that's the point, Hamish. Like we heard from a woman in that package there who just can't do it anymore. And I just wonder how hard this is on those communities that have now had to deal with this and back up after only a 12-month break.
Yeah, look, obviously whenever we tell these stories, there's always this coming together of community, and there is always a phenomenal response, and you see the SES volunteers and the fireys out, whether it's here in Sydney or up on the north coast of New South Wales, and we are seeing that undoubtedly. But you are starting to hear, I think, more particularly in this situation along the Hawkesbury River, but also the Georges River in the southwest of Sydney, people seeming to ask slightly more pointed questions at the politicians and of government and of the authorities about why there wasn't better preparations in place for this. Clearly in this part of the city, new developments have been built along the Hawkesbury River in low-lying areas that have come under immediate threat from the Red Bank Dam overnight. So clearly people are asking, why are those sorts of developments in place without proper provisions? Why aren't there better roads, for example, built to help people get out of flood-prone areas? Why aren't there sandbags ready ahead of a big weather system moving through? There's obviously only so many times politicians can say this is a once in 100, 200, 500, 1,000 year weather event. That starts to wear, I think, pretty thin for people that are living through it repeatedly.
All right, Hamish, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much. Gee whiz, you cannot imagine what that must feel like to be going through it again.
Last night I was up all night bailing out our house, actually, with just in my undies I was, with a bucket of water, my husband and I. I'm from Sydney and not going through anything like a lot of people in Queensland and New South Wales. But it is just terrifying to be in a situation where your house could be flooded. We had, our kiddie pool there with just kept on filling up. We had to keep, bailing out with buckets of water into the laundry. It was scary.
Well, what's it like not knowing how bad it's going to be? Because you're preparing for something, but you can't really know what it is yet.
Yeah, it's sleepless, you know. Like I barely slept last night. I put on a face mask this morning. Thank you. It's really worrying, especially when you've got kids and you're thinking about hopefully they won't be affected by the situation too.